Dr. Tom Wilson wiped sweat from his forehead as he led the dig at the ancient burial site. It was his life's work, the small patch of English countryside that held secrets from over 1,000 years ago. The summer sun beat down on the team as they carefully removed layer after layer of soil. Just a bit more, he encouraged his team of 5 researchers. They had been working for weeks, following the unusual readings from their ground scanning equipment. Mary Bennett, his most trusted assistant, looked up from her careful work. "Tom, I think we've found something." Her voice trembled with excitement as her brush revealed the edge of what appeared to be a wooden surface. The team gathered around, their faces showing a mixture of excitement and wonder. As they cleared more dirt away, they realized they had found a coffin, remarkably preserved in the clay soil that had kept oxygen away. "It's beautiful," whispered Jack Thompson, the youngest member of the team. The coffin was carved with symbols and patterns they had never seen before. It didn't match any known burial style from the period they were studying. "We need to document everything perfectly," Tom said, his heart racing. "This could be the discovery that changed history books. Let's get the cameras set up." They spent hours taking photos and making notes about the coffin's position and condition. As the sun began to set, they faced a difficult decision. "Do we open it now or wait until tomorrow?" Mary asked. Tom hesitated. 20 years of work had led to this moment. "We should look inside, but without opening it fully. We need to preserve everything as best we can." The team agreed to use their small fiber optic camera, designed to slip through tiny spaces without causing damage. They found a small crack where the lid met the base of the coffin, just large enough for their equipment. "Ready?" Tom asked, his finger hovering over the switch that would turn on the camera and the screen. The team nodded, holding their breath. The tiny lens slipped into the darkness of the coffin. Tom pressed the button, and the screen flickered to life. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then the air filled with their shocked cries. "That's impossible!" Jack shouted, stepping back. "It can't be real," Mary whispered, her face pale in the fading light. The screen showed the inside of the coffin in perfect detail. But instead of the expected remains, they saw a collection of scrolls, perfectly preserved, surrounding a small object that gleamed in the camera's light. "That looks like..." Tom couldn't finish his sentence. "Metal," Mary finished for him. "But not just any metal. It looks crafted, with purpose." What shocked them most was that the object appeared to have small, precise engravings that reminded them of circuit patterns. Nothing like this should exist in a 1,000-year-old burial site. "We need to secure the site right now," Tom said, his voice now steady with determination. "Call the university. Tell them we need extra security and specialists in ancient technology." As night fell, Tom sat alone by the coffin, a lantern casting long shadows across the dig site. Guards had been posted around the perimeter, and tomorrow, more experts would arrive. But tonight, it was just him and this impossible discovery. He thought about what lay inside that coffin. Not the remains of a person, but knowledge deliberately preserved. Someone from the distant past had left a message, a legacy that had waited 1,000 years to be found. "Who were you?" he whispered to the coffin. "And what were you trying to tell us?" The night wind carried his words away, but the answer lay just inches from him, separated by a thin layer of ancient wood. Tomorrow, they would open the coffin properly, and the world would never be the same. Tom couldn't know that the small metal object inside would change everything humanity thought it knew about history, technology, and their own ancestors. He couldn't know that his name would be remembered for centuries because of what they would find tomorrow. But as he sat in the quiet darkness, he felt something he hadn't experienced in years of academic work, a sense of wonder, and the feeling that he was standing at the edge of something much bigger than himself. The morning sun had barely risen when the additional experts arrived at the dig site. Professor Helen Brown, a specialist in ancient writings, and Dr. Robert Green, an expert in historical metals, stepped carefully around the roped-off area where the coffin lay. "Is everything ready, Tom?" Helen asked, adjusting her glasses as she knelt beside the coffin. Tom nodded, his eyes red from lack of sleep. "We've taken all the photographs and measurements. The university has given us permission to open it fully. The team gathered around, cameras recording every moment. Four graduate students stood back, notebooks ready, hardly daring to breathe. This was history happening before their eyes. "Let's begin," Tom said. With extreme care, they used special tools to gently lift the lid of the coffin. As it rose, a soft hiss of air escaped, the first fresh air to enter this space in 1,000 years. "My God," Robert whispered as the contents were revealed in full daylight. The scrolls lay neatly arranged, their material somehow resistant to decay. They were made of something like parchment, but stronger, with a slight shimmer when the light hit them. And in the center, the metal object gleamed. It was a sphere, about the size of an apple, covered in what looked like tiny writing in intricate patterns. It sat on a small stand made of the same material. "This doesn't make sense," Helen said, her voice shaking. "These scrolls should have turned to dust centuries ago." "And that object?" Mary stepped forward with a camera to take close-up images. "The craftsmanship is incredible. Look at the detail in those markings." Tom felt his heart pounding in his chest. "We need to get these to the lab immediately. Everything must be preserved exactly as we found it." The artifacts were carefully removed from the coffin and placed in special containers designed to maintain the proper temperature and humidity. The team worked in silence, each person lost in their own thoughts about what this discovery might mean. Back at the university lab, Helen began the delicate process of examining the scrolls without damaging them. She carefully unrolled the first one, her hands trembling slightly. "This is unlike any language I've ever seen," she said as the others watched. "But there's something familiar about it too. Like it contains elements of early Saxon, but evolved somehow." Tom leaned closer. "Can you make any sense of it?" Helen shook her head. "Not yet. But I think I can work on it. There are patterns here that might be a key to understanding." Meanwhile, Robert focused on the metal sphere. He examined it under different lights, took measurements, and even tested its weight. "Whatever this is made of, it's not bronze or iron or any metal commonly used in that time period," he reported. "It's an alloy I've never encountered before. And these markings?" He looked up, his face pale. "They look almost like instructions." As the day turned to evening, the team continued their work. Word had begun to spread through the university, but Tom had insisted on secrecy until they understood more about what they had found. In a quiet moment, Mary approached Tom as he sat staring at the photographs of the open coffin. "What do you think this means?" she asked softly. Tom ran a hand through his hair. "I don't know. But whoever created these artifacts had knowledge that shouldn't have existed 1,000 years ago. The precision of the engravings alone would require tools we thought weren't invented until much later. Could it be a hoax?" Jack suggested from across the room. Tom shook his head firmly. The burial site was undisturbed. The soil layers above it were intact. There's no way anyone planted this there in recent times. As night fell again, Helen called everyone to her workstation. Her eyes were bright with excitement. "I've begun to decipher small portions of the first scroll," she announced. "And if I'm right, this isn't just a record or a story." She paused, looking at each face in turn. "It's a message. A message meant for whoever found it." "What does it say?" Tom asked, hardly daring to breathe. Helen pointed to a section of symbols. "This part here, I believe it translates roughly to those who come after, when the world is in peril, we offer our knowledge and warning." A heavy silence fell over the room as they all considered the implications. Someone from the distant past had left this message, predicting it would be found when it was needed most. But how could they know? Jack whispered. "That," said Tom, looking at the mysterious metal sphere, "is what we need to find out." For 3 days and nights, Helen worked tirelessly on the scrolls. She barely ate or slept, consuming cup after cup of strong tea as she filled notebooks with possible translations. The other team members took turns bringing her food and checking on her progress. On the morning of the 4th day, Tom found her slumped over her desk, fast asleep. Beside her lay a completed notebook, its pages filled with her neat handwriting. "Helen," he said gently, touching her shoulder. She woke with a start, blinking rapidly. Tom! I've done it! She grabbed the notebook and thrust it toward him. I've translated the first scroll. All of it. The team gathered quickly in the lab's conference room. Helen stood at the whiteboard, her excitement making her hands shake as she wrote key points. The scrolls were written by a group who called themselves the Keepers, she explained. They lived over 1,000 years ago, but their knowledge went far beyond what we thought possible for that time.